So I want to talk about something I've been thinking about lately, and it's this concept of becoming a juggernaut of reality by learning so much new knowledge and skills and information that reality itself is terrified of you. You know, we hear that old saying of knowledge is power. I think we are first exposed to that in school. Somebody said it. I'm not sure who the first person to say knowledge is power was. And it's something that's kind of lost on us. You know, we go through high school and most of us can't wait to get out of there. You know? And we graduate and we get a job and we just stop learning or growing or doing any studying. We kind of fall into routines and sort of habits, and you know, we don't continue learning. And I don't think that's how we're supposed to be. You're not supposed to stop learning. You're not supposed to stop growing. You know, if you find yourself falling into depression and anxiety and stress, you know, you got to look at your life a little bit and ask yourself, you know, am I learning anything new? Am I increasing the knowledge and the awareness of my life, of my existence? And if you're not, it might benefit you to, you know, crack open a book. It seems like simple sort of advice, but it's lost upon a lot of people. You know, now coming back to this Juggernaut theory, I have this belief that if you just keep learning, you know, keep studying and reading and learning constantly, daily, on a daily basis, at least 1 hour a day, if not more, you know, on focused study, reading and gaining some sort of knowledge every single day, that over time, we've all heard of compound interest in terms of you know, stocks or investments, but compound interest also works with knowledge. The more knowledge that, you know, you gain, the more it's going to compound, and the smarter you're going to get, the more aware you're going to become, and the more life and reality and things are just going to make sense to you. And it's going to feel like magic, because, you know, when you start on that path of learning, and not just learning, but also enjoying the experience of learning, it changes you as a person. It starts to rewire your whole concept of life, reality, and your own being by simply picking up a book and just start reading and studying. You know, there's something that just the switch gets flipped and the lights come on, and all of a sudden that dark, confusing reality or life that we found ourselves lost in starts to become clear. Things don't seem as bleak. You find a semblance of hope, and once you kind of focus your energy on something that you find is meaningful, not just meaningful but interesting, and it interests you and it inspires you and it makes you, you start learning about a particular subject or field of interest, and you kind of just latch onto it, you know, it gives your life purpose and direction. And when you find purpose and direction in your life, those feelings of inadequacy and confusion and hopelessness and despair, they just start fading away. I speak of this because, like, that's exactly what happened with me. I started devoting my life to, educating myself, learning, reading books, taking courses, learning new skills, and not only learning new skills, but applying them in my life, whether it's becoming a better communicator or writing better or speaking better or handling your own emotional intelligence better. Developing yourself is always beneficial, and it will transform your life in ways that you can't even begin to imagine. Your friendships will change, your relationships will change, how people see you will change, how you work will change. I used to be the kind of person that would walk through life kind of lost, kind of hopeless, with a sense of entitlement, a sense of, oh hey, woe is me? Why is everything bad happening to me? Life sucks, life is terrible, I can't do this anymore, everybody else is terrible, society is this, people are that way, and you give all your energy away. And you don't take any responsibility for yourself. And that's what I used to do. I used to be that type of person. I wouldn't take responsibility for myself. I wouldn't hold myself accountable. I wouldn't own up to the fact that, it was me that was sabotaging my life. Not the whole exterior, everything outside of my sphere of being, but me. That I wasn't putting in enough effort, that I wasn't doing enough work, that I wasn't giving my best and giving it my all throughout my life. So when everything would just fall apart, it was always easier to blame everybody else. It was always easy to get mad at everybody else. And you do that long enough, and eventually your whole life's gonna just crumble and fall apart. You have to take responsibility for yourself. Granted, we fall into situations sometimes out of our control. We can't help where we were born, our country we were born into, our family that we were born into, and sometimes we can't control the people or the environment that we were around, or the influence. However, you need to come back to yourself and do some deep soul searching and inner exploration. And sometimes that journey is kind of quiet, and it's kind of unnerving and very lonely. And it's a dark place to go down. I believe it was Carl Jung, I think. Don't quote me, philosophy, spirituality people. But that dark night of the soul, where you start to just kind of, if anybody's went through that dark night of the soul, you know what I'm talking about. It's hard to put words to it of exactly what it is. But it's a good thing to go through. Because once you finally face those inner demons, you start facing the things about yourself that you don't like, and you start being more honest with yourself about who you are and the way that you've been, and that maybe, just maybe, you haven't always done the right thing. You haven't always acted appropriately or in the right way. That maybe you've been lazy, maybe you've been less than honest, maybe you've been not really a good person, maybe you've done wrong things. And that's okay, because we're all human beings on this particular journey of self-exploration and becoming better. I mean, hey, how can you know? how can you know how to be? How can you know what the right thing to do is? You know, nobody gets it right. You know, nobody's perfect that just, oh, nobody's born into this existence. Oh, I know everything. Maybe super geniuses. But for the rest of us, we have to fall on our face a couple of times before we get it right. And that's okay too. But the part is, do you fall on your face and pick yourself up? Or you just lay there on the ground and decide, hey, I'm gonna die. The choice is yours. But like I'm saying, the Juggernaut Theory of becoming this juggernaut of reality through self-exploration, knowledge, learning, growing, building skills, where reality is terrified of you, is powerful. It's a powerful sort of place to reach, because when you reach that juggernaut sort of mindset, and it's not that it's not an ego thing of, oh, I'm better than everybody else. No, it's a state of being where you know who you are, and you've developed yourself, and you develop yourself for yourself, not for whatever everybody else. You do it for your own personal gains in your life, because you know it will be good for you. That's the whole purpose of this Juggernaut Theory that I've been thinking about and contemplating. It's all a personal journey. It's all for you. And the benefits of it, listen, every time, every minute, and every hour you spend working on yourself will compound and will circle back in your life. You may not see it right away, but lo and behold, all that time you spent studying and all that inner work and knowledge, it's going to come back to you, and you're going to be amazed at what your life looks like, and the journey of it, and the person you become through all this experiences. You're going to be a changed person. Listen, don't take my word for it. If you really want to change your life, hit the books. Plain and simple. There's no other magical codes. There's no other, hit the books. Start learning. Start growing more. Start studying. Get off the couch a little bit. Do something. Because you're not going to go anywhere by just staying sedentary. Listen, if you like this video, like, subscribe. Share it with somebody that needs to hear this message. Because we all know somebody that needs to get their shit together. And we'll see you on the next one.